All right, next game I want to move on to is going to be Louisville versus SMU. Big game. Not a lot of people are looking at SMU to be that ACC champion and get the fourth kind of automatic bid into the CFP. But SMU right now only has one loss in the ACC. Obviously, they lost two non-conference games to Baylor and to TCU, and then they also have. They also lost a game in the ACC as well, kind of a game really they weren't supposed to lose. So the spread on this game is 2.5 right now, at least last time I checked, and then it's over under is 52.5. But let's get kind of right into it. Talk about what we're seeing for this game, what Louisville needs to do and Miller Moss needs to do to beat SMU, and then what SMU needs to do to defend at home, defend Dallas, Texas, and honestly move into basically the driver's seat of that ACC championship game.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at it from our, prediction standpoint, this is kind of one of those that you look at and you're like, this might be kind of, there's some value in the spread here. As it's kind of teetering between, SMU by 2 or 3 points. We have SMU winning, 8 out of 10 matchups against Louisville. And that's run over, thousands and thousands of games and simulations in order to predict this outcome. So I think statistically and from a metric standpoint, SMU matches up very well against kind of Louisville, who's kind of on this little bit of a late season sputter. I think kicking it off with their loss against Cal was kind of a tough wake up call for them. So we have SMU winning this game at an 80% clip. And then we have a pretty medium conviction on this. So when I'm talking about conviction score, what we do is after we set our initial pick, which is saying SMU wins this game 8 out of 10 times, we then run that model through thousands and thousands of more simulations to historically look at how accurate a pick like this has been. And so with a conviction rating of about 60%, we have about an 87% historical accuracy. So it's a very reliable pick in terms of what we think is the outcome of this game would look like. So that's just kind of breaking in a little bit into what our in-season AI is predicting for this game. But we can jump a little bit more into metrics if that's what you want to look at next.
Yeah, let's look at metrics a little bit, see what Louisville has to do, and what SMU has to do to stop Louisville.
Sure.
So kind of Louisville offense, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. From like a SP Plus, which is ESPN's internal ranking system, these are two pretty close, fairly matched teams. Offensively, Louisville's 39 and 28th defensively, SMU's 28th offensively and 31st defensively. SMU's had some kind of tougher losses now when you look back at their earlier schedule, one being Wake Forest and then Baylor and TCU, which kind of ended up not being super formidable opponents from that standpoint of good quality losses. But Kevin Jennings has been phenomenal for SMU this year in terms of getting the ball down the field, one of the top passers in the country this year from just a yardage standpoint, but he makes a lot of poor decisions. And I think that, if I'm Louisville in this game, I'm saying, hey, let's get pressure to Kevin Jennings, force him to make poor decisions, force him to make those turnover-worthy plays, because when that happens, that's when SMU falters a little bit. If we look at the TCU game more recently, and even just the Wake Forest game, he was not as accurate through the air in those two games, and he threw 2 interceptions in the TCU game, 1 in the Wake Forest game. So when they're able to kind of get pressure to Kevin Jennings, force him to kind of scramble out of the pocket, which is one of his weaknesses, that's when you kind of see, hey, Louisville, you're able to actually kind of perform well against SMU because you're taking out one of their, keys to success.
Yeah, I agree. Like Miller Moss has been phenomenal at Louisville. Kevin Jennings kind of has had that volatile season that we've seen. And this should be a great matchup in terms of, not just SP Plus kind of evenly ranked, but in general.
Yeah.
And so if Louisville, if I'm SMU trying to stop Miller Moss in that Louisville offense, one, I'm trying to get after Miller Moss, make him make mistakes, make him make decisions early, and try to get in his face, because we've seen when he has not played as well, he has pressure in his face and he's pressured constantly. And that also, if you're SMU, that Louisville does not have a great pass block, and the offensive line has not been able to protect Miller Moss very well.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my kind of keys that I highlighted for that game. Kind of last thoughts. I know in-season AI obviously has given an 80-something% chance that SMU wins this game, and with fairly high, pick historical accuracy. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. I mean, last week in-season AI went 5 for 5 on its highest conviction picks.
Yeah.
This would be similar kind of pick wise to those highest conviction picks.
Yeah.
So people that parlayed that, those 5 picks made, 350 some odd bucks, just by being an in-season insider, subscribing to us here and subscribing to us on X, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. So if you want to get those picks, please follow, like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you want to see, all of that. Check out inseasoncfb.com or inseason.co to find all of that in-season AI insights, all of the insights from in-season AI, college football analytics, all of that.